Hello Dogs fans, welcome to episode 17 of After the Dogs Roar for 2017. This is the Western Bulldogs only show dedicated to all you members, supporters and fans of our great club, the Western Bulldogs. Let's get straight into having a look at the episode agenda for episode 17. I'm going to start off the show with an overview of our AFL Round 9 clash v the Geelong Cats at the new redeveloped Simonds Stadium. Following that is my Round 9 votes for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award, my 3-2-1 votes. A look at where we stand on the AFL ladder follows, and then an overview of our VFL Round 6 clash v the Geelong Cats. Looking forward to having a look at what happened in that game and the standout players, etc. A look at where we stand on the VFL ladder follows that, and then a preview to our VFL Round 17 clash. Okay, it's against Sandringham, but anyway, we'll have a look at that a bit later on in the show. A preview of our AFL Round 10 clash v St Kilda follows that, and then the 5 fan questions at the back end of the show, and that is the fan favourite segment. So looking forward to getting stuck into that. So let's get stuck into the show, starting with an overview of our AFL Round 9 clash v the Cats. So in Round 9, we were back on the Friday night stage at the new redeveloped Simonds Stadium, taking on Geelong, who had lost their last 3 coming in to this match. We were of course coming off a loss to the West Coast Eagles coming into this game. So a lot at stake for both sides in this match, and I thought we actually got off to a really good start in the first quarter. Geelong did kick the first goal of the game, but we did lead at quarter time, 4-3-27 to Geelong, 3-0-18. I thought this was our best start to a game this year. That's just my view, but I thought we got off to a really good start because the last couple of weeks we were actually conceding the start and teams were getting a bit of a head start on us at the start of every match. So to get off to a winning start, I guess, and lead at quarter time was a really good positive from our point of view. So we led by 9 points at quarter time. The second quarter, it kind of went wrong a little bit. Geelong started to lift up the pressure. Their tackling from start to finish was absolutely fantastic. Our tackling was pretty good as well. But they really did put the foot down in the second quarter, and we weren't able to score a single point in the second quarter. Geelong piled on goals, and they led at half-time 8-5-53 to the Dogs, 4-3-27, the same score that we had at quarter time. So that was a 30-odd point lead to the Cats at half-time, and we were going into half-time kind of scratching our heads, trying to work out what we could do, because the first quarter was a really good quarter from us, but we just sort of let ourselves down in the second quarter, and that was just because Geelong was so fierce at the ball, and their pressure, we couldn't get it inside 50 and score. So Geelong had a really good half-time lead. We were able to come back in the third quarter and actually play a style of footy that we actually wanted to, which was very pleasing. We were able to get it inside 50, score, and we actually led. We restricted the Cats to 1 goal in the third quarter, and we were able to lead. Yes, lead at three-quarter time after being 30-odd points down. We were able to lead at three-quarter time, 10-8-68 to the Cats, 9-5-59. We were going into the last quarter in this game in front. We looked like we were playing some good footy. However, we hadn't scored at the forward stand end of the ground. So that was a little bit of a problem going into the last quarter. It did prove that way, and Geelong's pressure was just far too strong for us. And in the end, the Cats were able to win the match. After we had the three-quarter time lead, we gave that up and the Cats won in the end. The final score being Geelong 16-8, 104, defeated the Western Bulldogs 12-9, 81. Some of the stats here, the contested possessions, it was pretty close in the contested possessions. Geelong won the contested possessions 162 to 158. We lost the marks. They had 69, we had 57. The tackles, it was an absolutely extraordinary tackle game, because Geelong had 134 tackles, which is probably what won them the game. To us, 104. They did win the clearances and had a lot more inside 50s than us. It was very pleasing from our point of view to have more goals than behinds for once, but it wasn't enough because Geelong won the game. Let's have a look at the goal kickers from our point of view. Smith and Redpath kicked 2 each. Wallace, Dixon and Boyd also kicked 2 each. Webb and Cloak kicked singles. And the best players from us, Wallace, Daniel, Jong, Murphy, McRae and Dale. And then just over 30,000 attended this game at the new redeveloped Simonds Stadium. So, look, I thought we played a really, really good game at times. I think the second and fourth quarter was the quarters that let us down in the game. Yeah, I don't know, I just kind of put this game down to Geelong being far too strong. It was a really good, entertaining game, but yeah, unfortunately, we just kind of lost it in the end, yeah, the last quarter was where Geelong just blew us away. So, look, we have to regroup now. I thought, the outstanding players were Wallace, Daniel, Jong and Murphy, and I thought Wood played well as Dale. Tom Boyd, I think, played well as well at times. But, yeah, look, just not able to get the 4 points, unfortunately. That's 2 games in a row now we lose. And a tough game coming up next Saturday against St Kilda. So, look, I thought we played really well in this game. Just the fact that we weren't able to score enough points to win the game. And that's, yeah, and obviously Geelong's pressure was just far too strong. So, unfortunately, we lose our second game in a row, and yeah, like I said, we'll have to regroup now and prepare for a big game on Saturday, a must-win game. It's fair to say that before the bye. Okay, time now to get into our votes, my votes for the round 9, against Geelong for the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest Award. Okay, so here is my round 9 votes for the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest Award from what was a disappointing match in the end, a disappointing match to lose after we were in at a three-quarter time and in front. But anyway, I've given 1 vote to Caleb Daniel. I thought he was outstanding, the little man. He gathered 28 disposals, 15 of them were handballs. He had 5 marks, and I thought he was one of those players who just popped up everywhere throughout the game. So Caleb Daniel gets 1 vote from me. The 2 votes goes to Lin Jong, who gathered 24 disposals, was really, really influential at times in the game. He was actually in the ruck at some stage of the game as well, which I kind of didn't like, to be honest, but he played okay in the ruck. He only got the 1 hit out, but someone had to do it, I suppose. But yeah, he was very influential in the game. I thought he played really well. So Lin Jong gets 2 votes. And the 3 votes goes to the returning man, of course, injured in round 18 last year, and that is Mitch Wallace. Returned very, very nicely. He's played 4 games in a row now, 3 in the VFL, and all of them he has gotten the best players. He is just a fantastic player, someone that I think we've actually missed at the start of this year. And 26 disposals, 18 of them were handballs, 8 kicks. He made 6 tackles and kicked 2 goals, so he was fantastic, Mitch Wallace. Great return from him, a successful return, and Mitch Wallace gets the 3 votes for me, well deserved by Mitch Wallace. So that is my votes for the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest Award. Time now to have a look at the leaderboard. So Marcus Bonampelli still leads the After the Dogs Raw Best and Fairest Award on 11 votes. Luke Dalehouse second on 8 votes. Lockie Hunter and Caleb Daniel joint third on 6 votes. Jack McRae and Lin Jong a joint 5th on 4 votes each. Joint 7th is Jason Johannisen, the Norm Smith of last year's grand final, and Mitch Wallace with 3 votes apiece. Joint 9th is Matthew Suckling and Toby McLean on 2 votes each, and then joint 11th on 1 vote each is Tom Liberatore, Liam Picken, Jake Stringer, Zane Cordy and Jack Redpath. So that is the leaderboard for the After the Dogs Roar Best and Fairest Award. And time now to have a look at where we stand on the AFL ladder after round 9. You can see that we haven't moved. We've actually kept that 8th spot on the ladder. We are on 20 points, joint with Richmond, Port Adelaide, who are above us and have a better percentage. St Kilda and Essendon are also on the same points. They are below us, and we of course have St Kilda, who are 9th on the ladder. We have them on a Saturday afternoon next week in round 10, so that will be a massive, massive clash. We lose that and we could be out of the top 8 come the bye. So a big game coming up on Saturday afternoon in round 10. Okay, time now to get into our VFL Round 6 clash. An overview of this clash where the Footscray Bulldogs took on Geelong at home, Whitten Oval. And it's fair to say the game was probably taken away from us early on because we had a single point at the quarter time break to Geelong for 6:30. So not the best start in the first quarter, and it kind of carried on in the second quarter. We did kick 4 goals and 3 behinds in the second quarter, but Geelong had a half-time lead of 7-8-50 to our mob 4-4-28, as I mentioned. So yeah, look, a lot of reassessing to be done at half-time, and well, they kind of just carried that on, Geelong, in the third quarter. We were kind of just playing catch-up footy throughout the whole entire day in this VFL match. Geelong had the three-quarter time lead, 12-13, 85 to Footscray, 7-5, 47. We did come back in the fourth quarter. To our credit, we only went down by 11 points, but a loss is a loss, and that is now the second straight loss in a row for our Footscray Bulldogs. The third loss this year, of course. We've lost to Box Hill Hawks and Port Melbourne in games this year, and this is our third loss of the season. The final score being Footscray 13-9, 87, defeated by Geelong 14-15, 99. The goal kickers for the Footscray Bulldogs, Honeychurch, Goodyear, Shea, kicked 2 each. Tweety, Young, Hamilton, Hayes, Cordy, Campbell and English got on the score sheet with singles. And the best players were Shane Biggs, Roughhead, Honeychurch, Jamison, Russell and McLean. You would think that Roughhead is definitely going to play on Saturday now that he's had 2 games in the VFL. Biggs could return to the senior side for the game against St Kilda as well. It looks like he played a very, very good match, and you can see there also Honeychurch getting in the best players, and McLean also a premiership player in the best players there as well. So we go down by 11 points against Geelong. But yeah, a loss is a loss, and it's our second straight loss, our third loss of the year now, and let's now see how that's affected our position on the VFL ladder. Time now to have a look at where we stand on the VFL ladder after round 6, after that 12-point loss against Geelong. I think I mentioned just then that it was a 11-point loss. It was actually a 12-point loss, so sorry about that. Correcting myself there. It was a 12-point loss to Geelong. And we've fallen right down to 8th, which is quite disappointing, to be honest. And we are on joint points, 12 points with Essendon and Geelong, of course. Essendon having the better percentage than us, and of course we are having the better percentage than Geelong, who we played on Saturday. We versed Sandringham, who have only lost the 2 and won 4 and are 5th on the ladder. So that's going to be a tough game coming up on Saturday night at our home ground of Whitten Oval, but we must win that and bounce back after those last 2 games which we have lost. So we are sitting 8th on the VFL ladder after round 6. Okay, time now to have a look at our next VFL clash, and it is our round 17 encounter. yeah, we were only in round 6 on the weekend, so geez, time flies. We are already in round 17 after being in round 6 last week. Look, I think it's because so teams can have a bye this week. I'm not really sure why it's a round 17 clash this week, but geez, it's confusing. It's quite silly, really, how the VFL has made the fixture like this. And in fact, I think there's only 2 games this week in the VFL, and I think the other game is Richmond and Essendon at Punt Road on Saturday. And that game's a round 16 clash. So we have 2 games in the VFL from different rounds this weekend. It's absolutely confusing. And I don't know how the VFL have come up with this kind of scenario in their fixture, because it's a bit confusing in my opinion. And surely there's a better way to do this sort of thing and give teams a bye than do it this way. But anyway, that's just my view. I'm sure they have a good reason behind actually doing this. But anyway, it's our round 17 clash. We're up against Sandringham, as I mentioned before, Saturday the 27th of May, 7 p.m. at Victoria University, Whitten Oval. So of course you can go to the AFL game on Saturday afternoon and then go to Whitten Oval afterwards to watch our VFL clash. It's a must-win clash, it must be said. I think we do have a bye coming up. I'm not sure if we have a bye next week or not. I'm not too sure. I don't think we do. But yeah, a big game this one after of course dropping dropping points in our last 2 games. So just repeating, Saturday the 27th of May, 7 p.m. We're up against our Footscray Bulldogs up against Sandringham at Victoria University, Whitten Oval. Looking forward to seeing how that game pans out. Okay, time now to have a look at our AFL Round 10 clash. This is our final clash before the bye round. Yes, the bye round is upon us. How time flies, but we're up against St Kilda in our Round 10 clash, Saturday the 27th of May, 1:45 p.m. at Etihad Stadium. You can watch this game on Fox Footy, of course. Round 18 last year, we go back to that round, and we actually lost to St Kilda. I was actually there at that game. It was the last Bulldogs game I went to, and yeah, we lost that game. It was quite a poor night actually, and we'll be looking to bounce back this weekend against St Kilda and hopefully get some sort of revenge after that loss last year. We always seem to be in tough battles against St Kilda. I don't think that was the case in round 2 last year, but definitely round 18 that was the case. And yeah, I think this is going to be a tough match. Even though St Kilda are coming off a 50-point loss to the Swans at this very venue, I think it's still going to be a tough match. We need to be able to play the style of footy we want to. We need to be able to move it quickly and also get it inside 50 and make the most of our inside 50 opportunities. That's what we need to do. Accuracy, like I said the last couple of weeks, is important as well. Yeah, put a lot of pressure on as well. We need to be able to put a lot of pressure on. And yeah, just try and play the style of footy we want to. Of course, I'm sure there's going to be a couple of changes to the squad. Tom Liberatore, I'm sure, will come back in. Jordan Roughead surely back in this week. We need him. We need a ruck. We can't keep having Jong and so forth in the ruck. I don't like it at all when midfielders are taking the ruck. I just don't like it. Roughead needs to come back in this week. He's played 2 games in the VFL now. That's enough. Bring him in. Like I said, Libba probably back in. There could be a chance that Biggs comes in as well this week. He played a good game in the VFL. Who knows what happens? But yeah, it should be a good match. But let's hope we bounce back, because we've had a somewhat poor last 2 weeks after getting 2 losses. But of course, we have been in both of those games. Okay, time now for the fan favourite segment. It is the 5 fan questions. You know how this segment works, so let's get stuck into having a look at the first question. And it is from Jenny. She asks, with Jordan Roughead likely to come in this week, who do you think will go out? There's a few players, I reckon, who are in the mix to go out for Jordan Roughead, who will most certainly come in this Saturday. If he doesn't come in this Saturday, I'd be absolutely staggered, because I think our ruck is a little bit of an issue at the moment, because yeah, we haven't been winning the hit-outs, let's just say that. But look, I reckon Travis Cloke is probably the likely man to come out. I didn't think he had a very good game on Friday night. I know he's returning from a broken rib situation, but he didn't really have the best of games. Although maybe Luke Beveridge will look at it differently and say, well, it's his first game back, let's just keep him in the side and give him another go. I'm probably more looking at the fact that he was, he swore in the fourth quarter and gave away that 50-metre penalty, and maybe Luke Beveridge will see that and say, well, you need to go back to the VFL and kind of fix your attitude. Maybe that's a way of looking at it. So he's probably in the mix as well. I don't know, there's probably a couple of other players. I didn't think Matthew Suckling played that well on Friday night. There's probably a couple of others who could go out, that could be in the mix to go out. It's a hard one, but I think the most likeliest for me at the moment is probably Travis Cloke. I reckon he'll go out, and Jordan Roughead will come in and play that predominant ruck role on Saturday against St Kilda. Red WB asks a very interesting question. Do fans believe a smaller mobile forward line is more or less potent than an attack with multiple tall targets? Yeah, a bit of an interesting question, this one. A bit of a tough question as well, because a lot of teams with a lot of small kind of forwards with a small forward line can actually play some really good football. And we have a few good small forwards that play a really good role in our forward line. In fact, just going on a bit of an example here, Wallace is a bit of a smaller type forward. Maybe doesn't play forward all the time, but he kicked 2 goals. Tory Dixon is probably not that tall, but then you could probably class him as a key forward. He kicked 2 goals, and Clay Smith's probably in the same position, kicked 2 goals as well. Travis Cloke, of course, is probably that key forward, but maybe not as tall as some key forwards. So look, I mean, it's an interesting question. I think every forward line has to have its fair share of small players. But I've always had the philosophy that your forward line does need a key forward or two, and that's where Tom Boyd and Jack Redpath come in as real key forwards in that kind of full forward and centre half forward role. And then, I reckon your key forwards are probably most likely to line up in that full forward, centre half forward role, and then your pockets and your flanks kind of with the smaller forwards, and that's where they can probably crumb, and that's what Eddie Betts does, a lot of the time, and that ability to be able to have smaller players in your forward line that can kind of back the key forwards up to crumb and then kick into goal. It's a very interesting question. I reckon, a forward line needs to have its fair. Our forward line probably needs to have a fair share of small players, but does need a couple of key forwards such as Redpath, Boyd, Dixon, etc. In the side. So. That's just my answer to that. It's a very, very hard question, a tough question, and I'm sure a lot of others have a different perspective and opinion on this question. Matt Button asks, can we have a forward line of Boyd, Redpath and Cloke, or is it too many tall key forwards? Look, I just said moments ago that I think Cloke will come out and Roughead will come in. It was always going to be a little bit of a tough scenario to fit all 3 of these key forwards in. So look, I don't think we really can, because like I just said before, you need to have your fair share of small forwards in your forward line, and you can only really have a couple of key forwards in your forward line. If you want to have other key forwards, then you're probably going to have to push them to the pocket and the flank. Boyd and Redpath are those players who can play full forward, centre half forward. Cloke can as well, but if you push him to the pocket, will it work? Will he be able to play kind of that different sort of role, that crumbing sort of role, maybe be able to lead off the pockets? I don't think we really can fit them all in, but I don't know, maybe Beveridge has got a different idea, but look, I don't think we can. I think, with one of these players, with Cloke most likely making way for Roughead, I don't think we can fit all 3 of these key forwards in, and it probably has to be only 2, unless we have one on the bench as for example, Cloke on the bench kind of playing a semi-forward / backup ruck role or something like that. I find it very hard to fit them all into our forward line, considering we have players such as, Dixon, Smith, and Stringer to come back as well. It's very hard to fit them all into the forward line, I reckon. Matthew asks an interesting question. Do you think we are better placed this year or at the same time last year? Both similar win-loss and similar injury and form struggles. This time last year, we were actually 6-3 and we were on 5th on the ladder. So, And then obviously now we are 8th on the ladder with 5 wins and 4 losses. We're in a bit of a similar position, although I think we were better placed last year than this year. I think this year we're a bit below down the ladder, and it's also an evener competition. I think this time last year the top 8 was already sewed up and hosed, and you know, it was more or less just getting wins to finish in the top 8. Whereas this year it's even. There's a lot of teams who can make the top 8 who are outside the top 8 at the moment. So I don't think we are better placed this year than we were last year. Then again, not to say we're in a bad position or anything, because I think 5 wins and 4 losses and inside the top 8 on 8th position is a pretty decent effort. Considering the way we've been playing and how poor we've been playing at times, and our accuracy and our ability to not be able to get efficiency inside 50. So, no, I don't think we are better placed this year. I also don't believe injuries is something that we should be blaming our season on this year, because I actually don't think we've had as many injuries as we had last year. We've only really had Roughhead and Cloak, and I think I'm forgetting a couple of others, but we've been able to gain Wallace and Redpath back, and obviously Morris is a big out, but he came back this week and probably didn't play the game he wanted to play. But I don't think we have as many injuries this year as we did last year, so I don't really think you can blame the injuries or anything like that on our season so far. Just my opinion. Jenny's got the final question. She asks, does Libba come back into the team this week after an ordinary game in the VFL? Look, I said before that Libba might come in, but after reading that question and what you just said about him having an ordinary game in the VFL, I'm not so sure that he will return to the senior side this weekend versus St Kilda. I think Beveridge has an aim for dropping him, and that is that he has to go back to the VFL and find some form and play some consistent footy. He is in the top 5 of the most tackles for the competition, but you know, tackles doesn't mean anything in a game of footy. You have to be able to, you know, considering his ability, he needs to be able to get more of the footy and have a bigger influence than just the tackles. So look, I'm going to kind of change my opinion from what I said before and say that I don't think Libba comes back into the side this week. I think he's going to stay in the VFL for another week or so until he finds some form and gets some good form back. I think that's Beveridge's aim, and I think that's what Beveridge is waiting for, and that's why he's dropped him to the VFL, because he wants to see him playing some good football. So I don't think Libba comes back this weekend. I could be wrong, but that's my prediction. And that is it for another episode of After the Dogs Roar, episode 17. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, share this video, subscribe. All the support is much appreciated. It does take a lot of time to produce, record and edit this show, etc. So I really would appreciate if everyone could get behind this show, support it, and get involved, whether that means asking a question on the Facebook Western Bulldogs forum for the 5 fan questions, or just giving a thumbs up on Facebook or YouTube, or just commenting or subscribing or whatever. Everything counts, all the support counts, and I really would appreciate it. Of course, don't forget to check out my my live streaming on Facebook, the Bev Show, 8:45 p.m. every Monday night. You can ask me anything Western Bulldogs on the show. Just type it in the comments, or use the Twitter handle, which you can get on the Facebook. So that is at facebook.com/thebevshow. I'm live every Monday night at 8:45 p.m. So until next week's episode of After the Dogs Roar, I'm Jacob. Let's hope the Dogs can bounce back and win against the Saints this weekend. Go Dogs! Bye for now.